To the City of Port Washington Common Council meeting Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. All aldermen and women are present. Please join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, I'm sorry. All but one. He is absent and excused. What happened to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, under the consent agenda, I'd be looking for the approval of the minutes and August financials. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Under mayor's updates, really quickly, just want to remind the community, Port Washington has the Port Pride volunteer hours. I spoke with the new principal today. It was a great conversation. So if there's anything any of our departments are looking for help with for volunteering, students at the high school who sign up for Port Pride commit to doing 15 hours of community service per semester. And there are 400 plus students who have signed up for that. So there's a tremendous opportunity for us. So I know that the senior center has reached out. I'd ask that Park and Rec, but that all of our departments do because the kids are looking for different things to do, including supporting and volunteering in the elections if possible. Ding. Okay. All right. Awesome. And then just as, so the council knows, we do meet with Jim Beaver, the Police and Fire Commission chair, monthly, and one of the requests made to him was that our sworn staff start to be sworn in during a city council meeting so that we can televise that and make sure that the community sees and we can properly welcome all of our new sworn staff with that. And then B here, so if you can flip to the PowerPoint. So earlier in summer, I had asked the community to submit flag submissions after the young man Ben last spring had made the request that the city do a city flag, which, when good, bad, or indifferent, when being an educator and a researcher, I went and did a bunch of research on city flags to see what they're all about. Alderman Tierney, can you pronounce that word for us all? Vexillological? Vexillological, yes. Latin root vex being... This is on the Big Bang Theory? Oh, dear goodness. Well, then maybe Dan or maybe Alderman, you guys know the 5 principles of city flags. So there are 5 principles of a flag. First is to keep it simple enough that a child can draw it, which is awesome because the 7th grader is the one who submitted it. Use meaningful symbols in the colors, etc. Never exceed more than 2 or 3 colors, basic colors of your flag. No lettering or seals. And then be distinctive or be related. Avoid duplicating flags of other communities, other areas, other regions. So after that, I received just about 20 some, maybe 18 to 20 flag submissions from 5 different people. And I'm going to show you kind of the top ones from their submissions and then talk about the process moving forward. But before I do that, one of the submitters sent me a TED Talk on what goes wrong with the development of flags. Yeah, the people really got engaged in this, so I had a lot of fun. So weirdly, the city of Milwaukee, the original city flag of Milwaukee is used for what can go wrong when you make a city flag. So when this was adopted, I want to say it was in 1952, it was adopted through compromise by the city council. So this was combining like 5 different submissions, including, and what they really mocked was, the original city flag of Milwaukee also included another flag, which was the Milwaukee Regiment banner during the Civil War. So you can see what was the city of Milwaukee flag through compromise and all the different symbols. Well, you used to be able to see it. Uh-oh. Is that me or you?
That's me.
Thank you. All right. So now the new city of Milwaukee flag is simple. It's got 4 colors in it and deep symbolism. The 3 light blue lines at the bottom representing the 3 core founders of the city, and then each color representing the different pieces. So I will send you this. Dan Dusnitsky, he submitted multiple flag submissions, and I didn't take all of them from each of them, but Dan had submitted this one, which I wanted to start out with because it's just very, he discussed and shared the different representations of it. So the red being our red-brown, the clay bluffs, the tan, the beaches, and then the blue and orange representing the sun rising over the Lake Michigan. And one of the things that we had said was that we wanted to be represented by on the flag as a sunrise city for the optimism that we have. So that's Dan's. The second one was from Nick Logan. Nick submitted this flag using the city's colors, representing, obviously the sunrise in the morning, and then fishing in our water and our resources. So that was a pretty unique flag submission. And then Stacy Peters submitted this. She had submitted actually 5 or 6 different flag options. They were similar to others that were made, but one of the rules is not to have the city's name or anything on the banner. So this was one of hers. I pushed this one forward out of the submissions because she has 7 rays of sunshine up there representing the 7 hills, obviously our lighthouse and the water in a pretty simple and clean piece. And then our last one by our little friend, or I have no idea how tall he is, Ben, from TJ, who had submitted this drawing. Now, a couple things here as we move forward is, one is that I've already worked with 2 local vendors, 2 local business owners who have contacted one of the largest flag companies in the United States, which happens to be in Waukesha. They indicated that if we sent a drawing just like that they would digitize it and then send back a proof for us with specific colors, et cetera. So regardless of which one would be chosen or used, that process is already in place. And those vendors are asking that we come to a decision here in early October so that they can get those manufactured and put into their shops and around the city before the holidays. Local vendors would also be making T-shirts and hats and other things with whatever symbol we had decided. So I was looking for input from the council, and I can go back. I failed to make a slide with all of them on there, but one of the things I was considering doing was just going on to Facebook and putting a digital kind of vote off of the different flag submissions and then bringing that back to council to approve. But I purposely started with the compromise flag so that we don't start, well, how about 7 rays and, well, we should put a hook in there and those different pieces. What's interesting is the symbolism of the last flag when it was all put together that I thought was pretty cool was the orange sky being the optimism of the day ahead of us, our golden sun representing the opportunities that the community each day to learn, serve, and support each other. Obviously, the blue water representing our natural resources. And the suggestion was to put the lighthouse in white instead of black, representing our safe and welcoming community, a city built to be a friendly harbor for all. So I thought that was pretty neat. Any comments, questions, or ideas before I go public with all? Well, I guess I just did, but before we put it on Facebook, Mike?
I'll just say, City of Milwaukee Common Council was never able to agree on that new flag, and thus the old flag remains the flag of the City of Milwaukee.
Right. With the exception of everyone who lives in the city of Milwaukee who adopted this one, and you can buy that everywhere.
Why it's called the People's Flag.
Correct. There's a whole website just on that flag. So.
Are you accepting more?
I closed it out because it just kind of petered out there towards the end. I mean, if somebody has another submission, we're up on the community website, and those were the 4 I was thinking. Is that okay with everybody?
Could you run through them again?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Not that one.
Not that one. Well, it's really interesting. I'll send you guys the TED Talk because it's fascinating, right?
It does look like something designed by a committee.
Yeah. It was Alderman Stan, like classic Milwaukee like Jadzinski or something. Okay, so Dan's flag here was, the kind of the cool sailing piece with the different colors. And then Nick Logan's was the fishing and sunrise using the city's kind of older colors, which obviously we could update and shift over. And then Stacy Peters with the lighthouse. We would do a different graphic of the lighthouse. Stacy picked this one off of the website and then just transferred it. That's actually a side angle of the lighthouse, so we'd have that cleaned up. And then Ben's hand-drawn one, that was the original prompt for this.
So going back, you'd make that black White House.
This lighthouse would be white, and then on this field here.
That one as well?
Yeah, we would keep that
Okay.
black as a shade.
Or just an outline?
Or an outline, or there's a couple submissions that she had different versions of the lighthouse with the portholes open. I didn't want to take the liberty of moving it around
Okay.
for her.
Okay.
You guys okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we get to do some fun stuff once in a while, so that is, that'll be that piece. So I'll put that up on Facebook this weekend. I'll run it for a week and then come back so that in early October, we can make a decision based upon feedback.
What are the ages of all of those who submitted?
I only know that Ben is now an eighth grader. I don't
grader?
know. Yeah, the rest are adults.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, thank you.
yeah. And there were a couple of other submissions that didn't qualify. So someone had submitted their favorite stained glass that they had, which was, it was very pretty, but it was like a Maine lighthouse, black and white stripes, stuff like that, so. Okay, you can kick me off then if you'd like. And then the next one is I have one appointment. Per ordinance, we are supposed to have 2 student reps on the Park and Rec Board. And I've been looking around for students and talking to different young men and women at Port High School. So I have one for this month to add to Park and Rec Board. It's Josie Tetzloff. Josie's a senior up at Port High. She's been pretty active in athletics and clubs at Port Washington High School as well as in Park and Rec, and she lives across from Colbach, so she was pretty excited about doing this. All right, I would be looking for a motion to approve her appointment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Awesome, thank you. All right, and then under officers and staff reports, that'll come up next month for us. Otherwise, I'd be looking for, we move into public comments and appearances. Remember, the community is always welcome to make public comments and appearances for up to 3 minutes. If you need more time, contact the city administrator or myself. Any public comments? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move into standing council committees, finance and license. Item number 1, ordinance 2022-12 relating to penalties for and enforcement of building code violations. This is a first reading. The first reading is a recommendation that the council approves it at the second or third reading from staff. And one of the other pieces I'm going to start adding here is it lines up with our strategic plan for creating accountable processes and procedures as well as impact on the strategic direction of the city. Emily.
Thank you. This ordinance 2022-12 relating to penalties for and enforcement of building code violations, this is the first reading. Currently, if building code or property maintenance codes are violated in the city, the only enforcement measure that the city has is taking a property owner to court. So this ordinance would be twofold. One, it would allow specifically the building inspector authority to issue citations for property maintenance violations. And 2, it would up the penalties to no less than $150 a day to no more than $1,000 per day per violation. And the increase in the penalties is for 2 reasons. First, to encourage compliance to the building code. And second is to better match with the comparable municipalities around Ozaukee County and Milwaukee County to us. So this, again, is the first reading. Any questions?
Questions from council? Alderman Sigwart.
What's the current range penalty?
It is $25 to $500.
Any other questions? Alderman Gasper?
Yeah, why limit it to the occupy or maintain of 1 or 2 family dwellings? What about multiple family dwellings or mixed-use dwellings?
I believe this is just, let me see here.
Is this in alignment with state statute?
The wording for the single and multifamily dwellings was already a part of the ordinance, so that did not change.
Okay.
Is that something you'd like to see, Alderman
Yeah.
Gasper? in
Well,
the
I'm
second
just
reading?
wondering, should it change then in that?
So Emily, could we still, if there was, like Alderman Gasper seems to be, if there was an apartment building that was not, that was in violation of codes, we could still go after them without any different wording?
Go after.
I would have to ask the city attorney if that would.
If I can. I think what I think I'd recommend doing is if that's something that this body would like us to explore, we can certainly do that before the next meeting. and modify the ordinance being proposed. And the other thing I would just say as well is the intention of this was more or less looking at property maintenance of single-family and duplex homes in trying to ensure that we had a cost-effective manner in which to address property maintenance complaints. So that's why this is in front of you this evening. But we could expand the scope to look at multifamily as well.
Well, there are some, yeah, our code doesn't really allow it today, and it probably should, but there are some older triplexes, there might be even one or two quadplexes in town that were originally single-family homes that since got expanded, and those tend to be the ones that would be the biggest maintenance problems because they are older homes as well. And that's kind of why I brought it up.
I would agree with that, but if the object here is to keep us out of court when forcing things, I'd rather make the ordinance wider just with citations rather than to avoid court. Thank you.
I'll definitely look into that and bring it back on the 4th.
What is our current application of this ordinance? How often are they citing?
We currently do not have any citation authority.
Well, I mean, how often are we taking people to court? That's what I should have asked.
I don't
Often,
think-
not enough?
It's not very often. Just as a matter of background, the typical process is that the building inspector goes out, typically gives somebody 30 days, maybe another 30-day extension, dependent on the progress that they're making. And then from there, if there's no progress made, then it's turned over to the city attorney. City attorney sends a sternly worded letter, and it's usually about a 10-day compliance period. And then after 10 days, if there isn't compliance, that's when it gets elevated to taking it to that next level. In saying that, I think it's maybe like, I would say half a dozen times. But I think what I've witnessed over the past couple of years is that it seems like these are starting to become more prevalent. So in a way, it's kind of trying to get ahead of that a little bit and realizing, though, at the same time that this is more of a reactive property maintenance program, if you will. And that's not atypical compared to most municipalities because there's just not necessarily the resources that you can allocate towards it to have it be a self-supporting program.
I would add to that the resident is now in John's district that we've been having issues with for over a year, getting them to clean up their yard and the surroundings. I think we will get a lot more compliance if we end up writing a citation right away. We're going to get them to comply a lot quicker rather than the threatening letters.
Mrs. Klum's grass letter is going to have a little more bite to it?
Yes.
Good.
And I would say we would still start with the 30-day notice and the letters that Gary is doing now, and we wouldn't jump directly to citation. But then the next step would be citation after that.
Okay. Other questions?
I didn't notice this until just now, but in the memorandum itself, just to avoid any confusion, the subject is ordinance 2022-12 and the issue references 2022-14.
That's my fault. Thank you.
Others? Okay, moving on to 7A2, consideration of possible action on a one-day extension of alcohol premises for Port Main Street Fall Festival event. Susan?
This comes to us again this year. This is an annual event run by Port Main Street. It's a very popular fall festival that is held on Franklin Street and Grand up to the City Hall area. The area is completely closed off so that traffic is not able to get through. That allows them to put vendors on the street as well as a band. Also, the establishments, as part of this, request an extension of their premises to be able to sell, serve, and have consumption of alcohol in not only their establishment, but outside of it on the street where normally it would not be allowed. That extension of premise allows them to do that only in the designated area and includes only beer and wine, no hard liquor, in plastic cups from the hours of 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. on October 8th. So if approved, I will issue a one-day premise extension license to them, which they will post in their establishments. You'll see attached the 8 establishments within the 2 pages that will be participating and receiving licenses if approved. Everything is in order, and I'm recommending approval for this event.
Any questions or concerns for Susan?
Just a quick one, Susan. What is the definition then of the grounds?
The grounds are barricaded on each end, but the buildings serve as the boundaries. So the buildings through the sidewalk and the street area. So
Okay.
the grounds will start below St. Mary's Hill on Jackson and come down, make the turn, and come up Grand Avenue to this location out here.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so staff is recommending approval.
Move to approve.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right,
Mr. Mayor, there will be fireworks at 7:30 that night.
that's right. Everything is happening on this day.
Everything.
Everything, right? Right.
Last beer garden.
If you don't have anything to do, that's a choice. Because there's a lot of choices on the 8th. All right, excellent. All right, so the
And
next,
it's homecoming weekend.
yes. I just saw the dress. All right, so Administration Committee, consideration and possible action on adoption of a city donation policy. Should the council approve the adoption of the policy, the answer, well, not the answer, the staff is recommending that the council approve the adoption of the donation policy. Emily?
Thank you. The purpose of this policy is to establish standards and procedures for the acceptance, installation, and maintenance of donated improvements made from monetary, non-monetary, and in-kind donations, devices, or bequests from private citizens, business groups, or other organizations. In the admin committee, there were a couple of changes that were approved that I want to walk you through just really quick. First, in section 3, under unrestricted donations, the amounts were changed. In section 3AI, donations of $5,000 or less may be accepted by the city administrator. 3A2, it is now donations of more than $5,000 but less than $10,000 may be accepted by the city administrator. And 3A3, it is more than $25,000 may only be accepted by Common Council. For restricted donations, so 3B, 1 is donations of $25,000 or less may be accepted by the city administrator. And then 3B2, it's donations of more than $25,000 may only be accepted by Common Council. Second change is in section 6. The wording has changed to, where did I put my wording? Hold on. One moment, sorry. It is changed to a donation made to the city of Port Washington as a political subdivision of the state may be tax deductible, but only if the donation is made exclusively for public purposes. Donors may also consider making tax deductible donations with sister organizations for the city, including Friends of Park and Rec, including but not exclusive to Friends of Park and Rec, Friends of Senior Center, Friends of the Library, and Port Washington Firefighters Association. And then the last change that was approved by admin committee was striking section 7 in its entirety. Any questions? Section 7 was the food donations to city staff.
There's one other change, or just correction, that it's really my fault in making the suggestions for modifying the amounts contained in section 3. So for A2, donations of more than $5,000 but less than $25,000 is what we'd be looking for.
Questions? Yes, Alderman Terry.
And maybe I misheard this, but didn't we, Emily, didn't we on restricted B, I, or 1, donations of 2,500 may be accepted by the city administrator, or didn't we increase that?
Yeah, to 25,000.
To 25,000, okay.
My
what-
apologies if I misspoke.
Okay, but the donations of 2,500 or less may be accepted, and then, so up to 2,000, and then if it's over 2,500, it has to go, if it's over
25,000.
25,000. Okay, that's, right, okay.
So just one more time, Emily or Tony, could you please just reread what you're asking the council to approve tonight?
Yeah.
Just the numbers.
Yeah, so donations of 5,000 or less for unrestricted donations may be accepted by the city administrator and/or department heads. Donations of more than 5,000 but less than 25,000 may be accepted by the city administrator. And donations of more than 25,000 may only be accepted by vote of the common council. For restricted donations, donations of less than 25,000 may be accepted by the city administrator, and donations of more than 25,000 may only be accepted by vote of the common council.
Thank you. Administrative committee members, I have a question for you. So under naming rights, was there any conversation about the dollar threshold there and why it's where it is? And the only reason I ask is if you have a $10,000 project and you give $8,000, how does that work? I mean, it just literally a wondering, but because we have the opportunity here to shift the ordinance and policy, and was there any conversation about that?
Not really.
Okay. I feel like that's a pretty restrictive for what can and can't be done, and I guess if what you guys didn't think it was a concern, then I'm way below the line, and neither do I. Okay. And if there's no questions, then I'd be looking for a motion to approve the recommendations from the administrative committee to shift the dollar thresholds. Can I see your page there so I can read it properly per Roberts? Never mind, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Alderman Benning, did you have a question? You're seconded? Okay. Any questions or concerns on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Excellent. All right, that pops us into new business. Consideration and possible action on the third addendum to master development agreement and land purchase agreement for Black Cap Halcyon LLC. The consideration is as such, and the staff recommendation is that the Common Council approve the third addendum to the master agreement and land purchase agreement for the third phase, the south phase of the Prairie's Edge subdivision. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So at this point in the project, the developer is looking for approval of a third addendum for the third, and the third phase is the south phase of the Prairie's Edge subdivision. This section of or phase of the project would consist of the installation of all the infrastructure improvements that are necessary for what will end up being 20 townhomes and 25 single-family homes. Similar to the second amendment, or excuse me, addendum, there really isn't a whole lot of modifications here. The only one that I noted and outlined in the memo is that for 4B under payoff and partial release, that has been changed to read an amortization schedule showing the amounts applied to principal and interest for each payment under the promissory note is attached hereto as Exhibit B. Developer shall provide the city with 5 business days advance notice of the payoff and its calculation of the south phase lump sum payment. So what that does is it allows us a period of time to get from the developer what they believe is the actual payoff to settle up as far as their mortgage, I guess, if you want to look at it that way, is concerned. Otherwise, the addendum is, again, the same as the second addendum. And just as a matter of recalling what the pay is for that. So for the second phase, once the first building permit is pulled, a $515,000 payment is due to the city. Now, that has not occurred yet, but it's anticipated that it will this fall or winter. And then for this third phase, it would be a payment of the same amount. So again, that $515,000. I would recommend approval, so the motion would be move that the third addendum for the third phase of the Prairies Edge subdivision be approved, or move to approve staff's recommendation.
Questions or concerns for Mr. Brown? Mr. Sigwart?
On the third phase, it would be with the first building permit, Tony?
So it's the same for all phases. So once the first building permit is approved, that's when the developer has to supply a payment to the city.
So if he doesn't finish phase 3, it doesn't really matter as far as the mortgage payments to us.
If I'm hearing that correctly, so how it would matter is we get paid kind of monthly mortgage payments by the developer. So it would just be taken off of the top whenever that building permit is pulled. So for example, let's say hypothetically, the project drags out for a long period of time. The developer would still be making the mortgage payments on a monthly basis. And then that third phase payment of $515,000, whatever he had paid to date, once that building permit is pulled, that would get taken off of the top. So it'd be $515 minus whatever he's paid up to that point.
Other questions?
Can you hear me on the phone? Oh, sorry, Assistant Lisa Wood, Attorney Lisa Wood here for the developer. Just wanted to let you know I'm on the phone in case there's any questions.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other questions? Alderman Benning?
Tony, are they current on their monthly payments?
Yes.
Okay. And there's no other concerns or issues or with the,
No, I at this point in time, there is no concerns. I know that for the center phase, installation of the infrastructure went pretty smoothly. And now the developer's at a point where they would like to get this phase started, especially because my understanding is that the market for some of these products that are in the southern phase are very desirable. So they would like to move forward as quickly as possible on this.
so then the other question is, when does the city take possession of the bluff top, the front edge that's going to be deeded back to the city, or has that already occurred?
No, that has not. I think that I'd have to go back and look at the developer's agreement because there is, I believe, some sequencing that's identified within there.
Okay, if you could include that in one of your updates. You know, I know there was intention to put some trails and public access, and I'd like to see that when it's appropriate. I mean, when there's bulldozers running, you don't want people out there, but,
Awesome. All right, well then, is there a motion to accept staff recommendation for the third addendum?
so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second? Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving back into public comments.
Yep.
Seeing, good night, Lisa. Just one real quick question for you, Susan. Early voting begins?
Early voting is coming up shortly. It starts on October 25th, which is a Tuesday. It runs that week through the 28th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. here at City Hall. And then the following week, which is the second and final week, it runs from October 31st, which is a Monday, through November 4th, which is a Friday. That Monday through Thursday, it is 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and that Friday, it is 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. That one day is extended by statute.
All right,
Monday, the 7th, there can be no more early voting or registration. And then the election is on Tuesday, November 8th, where if they haven't registered, they can do so on Election Day and certainly vote on Election Day as well.
excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, then I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Go Pirates. Happy 50th birthday, Laura Didier.